All right, welcome to the show, YouTube friends. Jump into the live chat and smash the like and subscribe button as we recap another elite European competition day. Let's do this. Lewandowski was the man of the hour, but Bayern were the men of the 90 minutes as Barcelona were made to rue wasteful first half of chances at the Allianz Arena. Elsewhere, it was Joe Matip who sends Anfield into the raptures. They went a little crazy on that one, and Tottenham came undone in injury time. Also, Brugge, if you'd like to say it that way. Wow, they did an amazing job against Porto. I'm Ian Paul Joy, and I'm alongside my co-host today, Nigel Reo-Coker and Michael Lahoud, as we recap the first 7 games of match day 2 of the UEFA Champions League group stage. Que Golazo begins right now. Hey everybody, welcome along. My name is Ian Joy. My friends Nigel Reo-Coker and Michael Lahoud are joining me today as we recap the action that has just wrapped up. If you're watching online, please make sure you like and subscribe. Smash every single button possible. Please leave a comment for Nigel Reo-Coker, because I can only imagine some of the comments from him in a moment will be absolutely ludicrous. So follow along as we try to entertain you best as possible. Let's get into Group C action. It was Bayern Munich against Barcelona. Nigel Reo-Coker, we were texting back and forth in the group chat. It was a pretty good game to watch. It was entertaining, but a lot of missed chances in the first half.
Well, Ian, as you put in our little private group chat, would have, could have, should have. Would have, could have, should have doesn't count when you sit in the dressing room, because you know why? Would have, could have, should have leads to managers getting the sack. It doesn't mean nothing. But at the end of the day, the bottom line, what counts is the score line. Yes, Barcelona had the best chances. Lewandowski had some chances where the old Lewandowski at Bayern Munich would have put them in the back of the net. But maybe he got too emotional. He got too caught up in the moment, being back home, and maybe he might have even forgotten for the team he was playing for. But it just wasn't happening for him today in front of goal. And I'm a big Lewandowski fan. I'm sorry. I'm just going to have a little bit of fun now. But I personally hope that he does win the Ballon d'Or next year or this season, because he deserves it for what he's done consistently at Barcelona without no real recognition. He is one of the top strikers this game has ever seen. But for him today, it just didn't work out. Going back to the home that made him, the place that made him the name that he is now. And would have, could have, should have gets managers sack, as I say, Ian. And I know Mike's going to jump into it, Ken, with a game that he thought that he should have betted on but didn't. He said, I would have, could have, should have. But because you didn't, Mike, you didn't get the win. So it was a great game of football. I think, again, for me, again, I said we discussed it earlier about how Barcelona will rise to the occasion because it's a different outlook. It's a different game. The man that I thought would have a good game today also, who maybe would have stood out to the occasion, didn't really have the best of games, Sadio Mane, but he still was involved. Yep. And, you know, I think for me, Masala was absolutely fantastic. Young player, played in England, went to a school actually not too far from the school that I went to. I went to Riddlesdown High School. He went to a school called Whitgift and left Whitgift to go to Bayern Munich. And this kid is absolutely shining. That's a big loss to the Premier League. That kid, he's a fantastic talent. Had a great game today, rose to the occasion. Another young player who I thought was fantastic today was Davis. Big fan of Davis. Love his arrogance, love his character. Nothing phases that young man. He is a top-class player, ready for anything, and he had another good game as well. And again, we discussed it. Barcelona's real first test. They did not pass the test today, in my opinion. And just before I finish off, I'm going to give Ian a little bit of credit, Mike, just a little bit.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm going to give Ian a little bit of credit, Ian has said there's something still not right at Bayern Munich. And I finally agree with Ian. Ian, you can write this down. I finally agree with you. Because when Leon Mane was taken off as a substitute today, Sane was taken off today, his reaction to being substituted and going down the tunnel shows me as a player that there's definitely something not right. Because regardless of how you feel, you're still winning 2-0 against Barcelona, and to react like that and go down the tunnel shows that there is definite tension and disrespect between him and the manager. Floor is yours.
I hear that, but this is all about the final score of this game. I thought in the first half, Barcelona, they had their chances, as we talked about in the first, let's say, half hour. It was one-way traffic. Bayern's back line did just enough. Upamecano, he finally arrived this season. I thought he was class. And Lewandowski, yes, I'm just gonna say, I never say Upamecano's class. This is the first time Que Golazo special. I thought he was class given the circumstances. The big block, the big tackle that changed the tide of the game was Mazraoui coming on for Pavard and laying that blockbuster tackle. Lewandowski had Bayern's backline dead to rights at the PK spot. If he slots that in, then all of Bavaria is in angst as Barcelona has the lead and they pass Bayern to death. The midfield change at halftime, bringing on Goretzka for Sabitzer, was tactically spot on from Nagelsmann. I thought that was a big change because it allowed a third runner out of midfield. And to put Muller up top as a striker and then shift Mane more to a place where he's comfortable. I know he didn't score yet, but I think that could be where Mane really shines for Bayern Munich, is playing in that left-wing position that he really shined for Liverpool. And Thomas Muller's played in that lead striker. He's going to kind of be as a false nine, allowing other players and your two wingers who have pace to make slashing runs. Leroy Sané, this guy, the movement from putting him from left wing to right wing was good. Alonso was a good matchup for him. I said in the preview show, what did I say? The team that had the winger that had their biggest imprint on the game would win this game. So as I put my crystal ball, 1-0 for Michael Lahoud, because he got that one right. I may have not bet on the right team to win, but that was the key matchup. And Bayern got the right moments at the right time to start the second half, and Barcelona couldn't react in the end.
Yeah, listen, I think when you look at the game in general, I mean, obviously it's a convincing victory in the end, you'd have to say, by the scoreline. But the goals that were well taken in the end, I mean, the finishing was fantastic from Bayern on the day. The finishing not so much fantastic from Lewandowski, who made his return. Obviously, really interesting to see the reception he got at the Allianz Arena, returning to Bavaria, where he scored so many goals for Bayern Munich. It's always interesting. Anyone who's out there watching on, please make sure you drop a comment or a question for the guys as well about this game. If you watched Bayern Munich with a big victory over Barcelona, what did you think of the match? But what did you guys make of Lewandowski's performance and his return? Obviously, Nigel, you made your feelings known there that maybe the occasion was big. He forgot which jersey he was in. But at the end of the day, when you look at the opportunities he had 7 shots in the game, should have scored a goal, right?
Lewandowski should have scored. There's no argument about that. And I'm not going to take anything away from him because I know what a top striker he is, and I would have him in my team any day. It's just one of those situations where you just say it wasn't going to be his day today. And that's what I personally think it was. It just wasn't going to be his day. The chances that he had, the old Lewandowski in a Bayern Munich shirt, and again, I'm not trying to be a little smart ass about it, he would have put him in the back of the net. But it just wasn't supposed to be his day today. And that's what happens sometimes. You know, you go back, and I'm probably sure there's a lot of emotions going there and everything. And, you know, the first chance he really had with that touch in the box that he volleys over one-on-one the keeper, that should have been in the back of the net for sure. He should have scored. But I think overall he had a good game. I think it was a great game of football for the neutral. Both teams showed their character, their attacking presence, you know, and like Mike said, it was going to be one in the wing. And obviously, the first goal came through a set piece, and it was probably Alonso at fault for that game. One of my old teammates at Bolton. You know, I know what Marcus is capable of, and he's very similar to Trent. He's great going forward, defensively questionable at times. You know, just lost concentration at this level of football. You can't. And he's just come into the team, just left Chelsea, gone into Barcelona. It's going to take time for him to settle into it. But again, it was just a great game of football.
Ramadan just mentioning right there, Mike, before I let you talk there in the comments, thanks to everybody who's dropping their comments in. Just mentioning there, he can't believe how Barcelona lost this game. He believes that obviously there were so many opportunities just passed up by Barca in that first half that they should have got something from this match. But Bayern Munich, once again, showing their quality, showing that in the big occasion, they can rise to the occasion and get the result. They're sitting pretty at the top right now with 6 points.
Yeah, when I look at this Bayern Munich team, they have different ways of hurting you. If you would have told me a year ago that Goretzka, he had injury woes last year, would be coming off the bench, this guy is going to be a staple for the German national team. You also have Gnabry, who, alongside Lewandowski, was one of the stars of their season last year, Mr. Champions League for Bayern next to Lewandowski, coming off the bench. Nagelsmann is still trying to figure out this puzzle piece in year two. In the Champions League, to make a deep run, you have to win the big games. And for Barcelona, what I think they'll be really disappointed in, and I credit them for this, they came to Munich to win. They didn't come to be pragmatic. It's not in their DNA under Xavi. And I think once I said that, Ian may have gotten really upset and was like, no, I'm not having it. But I'll continue. And you have to applaud that. But whenever you are playing one of the giants of Europe and you don't finish your chances, they will be ruthless. And I thought Bayern was ruthless when they had their opportunity. The second goal, lethal. That is the Bayern Munich of modern day. Lethal on the counter. Musiala, this kid is going to be a star, if not one of the new stars of the modern age for Bayern Munich. Love that Nagelsmann is being quite bold in playing him as the attacking midfielder for Bayern Munich instead of Thomas Müller. That was a big call. And really, the young players of Bayern are stepping up. Granted that they didn't get the wins in their last couple Bundesliga game, but Musiala getting a goal against Stuttgart, and also Mazraoui getting an assist, I think, on that Musiala goal. So could be a talking point as the group stage moves on.
Mike, from what you saw today, how secure or how much belief do you have in Bayern Munich? Obviously, yes, Ian's right. We've got to give Ian a little bit of credit. Not a lot, just a little crumb or two. There is definitely tension there. There is tension there. But from what you saw in this performance today, how strong a team do you think Bayern Munich can be in the Champions League to make a real claim to maybe winning the title?
I think I'd have to see them be more sure-footed defensively. The fact that they gave away the chances they still gave away is troubling, because if you give PSG those chances, you're dead. You're absolutely dead. And a team that was more clinical on the day, if you take away the storyline of Lewandowski coming back to Bavaria, then if Messi or Mbappe, I know I'm going PSG heavy, or even a team like Napoli, Victor Osimhen, when he gets healthy, they put chances like that away, and it's a different storyline. But massive result for the team from Bavaria, massive result for Bayern, and a bit more believability about their chances given the stakes of today.
Well, as we take a look around what happened today in the Champions League, it's match day 2, Tuesday's slate of fixtures, some big results. Obviously, the big talking point we've just been going through is that massive win for Bayern Munich, who now sit pretty at the top of the table of Group C on 6 points. Of course, Barcelona will be sitting on the 3 points after their victory on match day 1 against Pilsen. And Inter Milan, who got a result today, real quickly on their result, guys. Obviously, Inter Milan, you'd expect them to pick up all 3 points. They did so thanks to Edin Dzeko, who had a great game today. He was terrific, finished his opportunity well in the 20-minute mark. That was his 7th goal against Victoria Pilsen. And Denzel Dumfries, another player who continues to impress me, getting forward and forward, assisted by Dzeko this time. But a big win, Mike, for Inter Milan today.
And it had to be, given how slow they've started their Champions League campaign and also how slow they've started Serie A. Really a response game from them. Of course, you'd hope that they get the win against Pilsen, who are likely to be the bottom team in this difficult group. But the fact that they had players who are going to be squad players, rotation players in Dzeko and Correa being up top, no Lautaro Martinez, still no Romelu Lukaku, still nursing that thigh injury. Those rotation players and squad players are going to have to be catalysts for change for Milan. Given also that Ivan Perisic, we'll talk on Spurs later on because that's a massive talking point. No Perisic, Dumfries will have to take up a lot of that goal-scoring defensive form on that right-hand side, because Perisic was a juggernaut on the left before leaving the Tottenham.
Nigel, what was your thoughts on the result overall at the end of the day? I mean, it's a big win for Inter Milan. It actually makes this group a little tasty now. I didn't expect to see Bayern with 6 points after 2 days, 2 game match days anyway. But they're sitting pretty at the top right now, and it seems to be a battle for second place that Inter have put themselves back into.
Well, we know, Ian, that you're a Bayern hater. So any of the fans watching or listening, feel free to direct some questions at Ian. Okay, all the Bayern Munich fans watching around the world, feel free. Ask Ian some questions, because he's a Bayern hater, and I don't know why he didn't see Bayern at the top of the group, because we did. Mike and I did, And
I actually want to quell that, because I said Barcelona were going to wipe the floor with Bayern Munich. I believe you were the only one, Nige, that got it right. So I'll have to give
fans around the world, football fans, you now know not to listen to Mike that much, not to listen to Ian that much either. If you have any questions, just direct it to Nigel Reo-Coker. I will gladly answer your questions. Any team, any world football, let's go. Yes, Inter needed to win that. I think it's great. It's really great in this group right now, and it's really opened it up. And I think for the neutral, it is absolutely fantastic, because I think that the great thing that we're watching is all these teams, I don't still believe, are the complete article. There are still weaknesses in every team, which makes it even more better and interesting for us as neutral. And again, it's going to go down now to the coaches with enough video now and enough knowledge of the game, what they've got to their resources, that they can use to their advantage to make sure that they get the points when it counts. But I think that it's absolutely fantastic for us.
Well, I'm having some technical difficulties, in case you couldn't tell right here. My camera keeps going on and off. But however, I will continue to tell you that, of course, with Bayern Munich sitting pretty at the top of the table, picking up 3 points in Milan against Inter on match day 1, and then on match day 2, getting the job done against Barcelona at home, puts them in a great position now as they go back-to-back games against Victoria Pilsen. You'd expect them to pick up yet again another 6 points and move on. So it really is a battle now between Barca and Inter. Those 2 games coming up, those are going to be must-watch games. I'm excited to see what Inter can do against Barcelona, but you would expect to see Barca probably the favourites now going through from the group in the knockout stages. Let's move over to Group A. A terrific match today, Liverpool, Ajax, Amsterdam. It was a great result for Liverpool in the end, but of course, they left it late. It was touch and go for a while as you were watching the results coming in, and on Nico Cantor's Golazo show, you could tell things were getting a little dicey at the end for Liverpool, who were pushing hard for the winning goal. They got it thanks to Joel Matip, who made it 2-1. Overall thoughts, Mike, on the result, really? And I guess if you caught any of the game, what did you think of Liverpool?
This was a game that was more about the result, getting it over the line, than the actual performance. Liverpool was desperate, and you could hear the relief through the entire stadium and the passion restored for this Reds team when Matip got that inches over the line. Correct call. One of the few times I actually can applaud technology. You know my stance on technology in the game. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Say it again. I freaking hate it. But it came to good today, or else I think the red half of Liverpool would have been an absolute boycott and in arms. It would have been a tragic day for Liverpool. What stuck out to me more was, hey, healthy bodies coming back. You look at Thiago, his influence in that midfield. Probably their only creative spark from midfield. Fabinho looking more like himself, but Thiago gives you more believability in midfield, being able to wriggle free, create chances, some of that diagonal ball control or ball movement, balls over the top in for Salah. And Diego Jota coming back, putting him at that false 9 position was a massive impact because he set up the goal. Liverpool being route 1, something that we haven't seen for them this season, being route 1 on the goal. I think Lucho Diaz wins the header, which falls to Jota. Jota draws 2 defenders to him, slots it into Mohamed Salah. Salah finishes. That's more like it from Liverpool. I wonder if this is the thing that breathes life into a difficult start for the season. I believe it is going to be for their Champions League campaign, but massive result in the end.
I want to say that, Mike, and to Ian as well, did you find it quite interesting at the start of the game? When I watched that game, I saw Liverpool, not the high-pressing Liverpool. Because, again, we talked about how the energy has died down and some of the boys might be tired. But at the start of the game, I saw the amount of respect that they paid to Ajax by not really high-pressing. They kind of sat back, which isn't something that we see from Liverpool. So now, whether it's the fact of it was Ajax or whether it's the fact of this weekend of not having a Premier League game and the soul-searching that they've done, that they might be slightly changing their approaches to game. But again, overall, just analyzing that with Mike and Ian, I'll probably say for this game, it was just about getting the win. It didn't matter how they got the win, whether it was ugly or anything, as long as they got the win, because winning breeds confidence. And again, Mike, you made some fantastic points, and I agree with you. Thiago makes a big difference in that Liverpool team. Thiago's the one midfielder you'd have to say in Jurgen Klopp's managing career so far from, obviously Borussia Dortmund to Liverpool now, that you'd say it's a midfield signing that's out of his comfort zone. He's not his traditional Jurgen Klopp midfielder of being solid, defensively capable, just being too solid to fill in the gaps when the fullbacks push forward and helping out the defense. He's that creative flair, and he adds that extra bit of spice. And I think it's his inclusion in the team today that played the biggest difference in Liverpool getting that result.
Yeah, listen, there's something about Liverpool Football Club when they mix it around, they start to rely heavily on their midfield really being the engine to push them forward. And, when you get desperate, sometimes, obviously, you're looking to your experienced players to really step up and put a shift in there. But when you throw Thiago into any team, this guy is just sensational. Wonderful footballer, one of the best in possession of the ball, probably the best passer in the Premier League, in my opinion. He's just simply up there. But I think that this result is most important. It didn't really matter, as you said, Nigel, a moment ago. It didn't really matter how they played Liverpool. They needed this victory. I mean, this now makes the group very, very exciting. Obviously, we know that the Rangers game and Napoli has been pushed to tomorrow. We see 3 teams sitting on 3 points. So it's interesting to see Liverpool get themselves back in there, but it was also really nice to see Mo Salah get on the score sheet once again as well. Very important for him, for his confidence. Huge goal for him already as he's got off to a flying start this campaign. I believe that's his 4th goal of the season, and 31 goals he got last year. We must not forget that. He was leading the way for Liverpool, and this year it's been a little bit slower for him, but I'm really impressed. Mike, we touched upon it a moment ago, and we won't really touch upon Ajax too much after this, but Kudus stood out again. The kid was just absolutely fantastic. His goal was something that is probably worthy of the price of admission alone. I mean, what a great finish that was.
Well, Kudus' finish is the part of our show's namesake. It was Que Golazo. What a golazo it was. Left foot. He's got a special left foot. Instincts of a striker, not a natural striker, but he's looking every bit of a top European striker when the ball gets in the final third. I loved how Ajax wasn't afraid to commit numbers forward on that one play. Coming down Liverpool's right-hand side. Again, bad things happen when Liverpool get caught out of possession. And I think it's the fact that Harvey Elliott is playing on that right-hand side. No one tracking from midfield. And Berghuis makes the lung-busting run getting forward, cuts it back for both Bergwijn and Kudus. Kudus, very selfish, rightfully so, getting in front of Bergwijn and then lashing it in the back of the net. Masterful finish, beats Alisson at his near post. Nothing he could do about it. And I actually feel hard done by. They didn't create as much chances as they would have liked. The Daily Bin chance was a massive talking point. I think had that gone in, game over. It would have just broken.
Should have gone in though, Matt, right? Should have scored that one though, right? Absolutely. I mean, that's 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And they'll be kicking themselves for not taking that, because if that goal goes in, they win the match. Then Liverpool are in dire straits, and Ajax have a firm grip on this group just after 2 games.
Nigel, Ajax Amsterdam, obviously it's going to be difficult for them now, and the group is starting to look really tricky. I mean, obviously we have, as I just mentioned a moment ago, Rangers and Napoli still to come up tomorrow, but for 3 teams to be sitting on the 3 points right now, what does this say about the game tomorrow for Napoli? If they get 3 points, they're sitting on the 6 points now ahead of Ajax and Liverpool, puts them in the real driver's position right now. Or if Rangers can get the 3 points, it's anyone's game.
It definitely is, but you'd have to say, I just think personally, and let's be real, Napoli have that extra bit of quality. They've got that spice right now. Yes, Mike might say they really start well, but they finish poorly. At the end of the day, if they start well, when the momentum's there right now, that's all that matters. I love Rangers. I think Rangers is you know what Rangers is like, Ian. It's a fantastic club, well supported. Them playing at home is their biggest advantage because their fans is their 12th man. But still, with Napoli, they just have that extra bit of quality. And I feel that when you look at Rangers, and I'll throw Celtic into the same mix as well, great teams, great support, tremendous football clubs where it's the heart of the community. But when it comes to Champions League, when you're playing these top oppositions, they can weather that storm with the experience that they have. And the quality always comes through in the end. So I think with the results today now, Napoli would know exactly what they need to do. And they will want to do it just to be a bit more comfortable and then concentrate back on Serie A.
Mike, you got anything to add?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really intriguing matchup. It'll show the mental fortitude of Napoli to see, do they really want to take this Champions League group? Do they really want to be just the storyline of the Champions League group stages, given that their lead striker is coming back from an injury? I think that will hurt them in the long run because they'll have to break down a stingy Rangers back line. I expect Rangers to potentially field a back 5. We saw that when it didn't go their way against Ajax. They looked more solid. They actually created some of their best chances, having 2 wing backs and a back 3. I think a player, and you got to cover him in MLS, James Sands, this will be his biggest test yet in his career, and a great test to do it at Ibrox at the biggest stage in Europe.
Well, when you think of the 2 games that Rangers have just had before the break, obviously missing in their performance with the Scottish Premiership also taking a break this past weekend, Rangers were 3-0 down in their last 2 games at half-time, obviously going down 4-0 overall in both of those games. They've certainly got a battle on their hands. We're going to step aside for a quick break. In just a moment, we'll be right back with action from Group D. It is Tottenham Hotspur who were on the road to Sporting Lisbon. Didn't work out the way they wanted it to.
The UEFA Champions League. 9 months of heart-stopping, hold-your-breath acceleration. While Mbappe shines in the city of lights, Benzema's racking up the hat tricks, and the Reds want more magic in Liverpool. This ain't amateur hour. This is the best of the best of the best. This is the UEFA Champions League. Stream every match live on Paramount Plus.
Well, CBS Sports is your home for the 2022-23 UEFA Champions League, UEFA Europa League, and UEFA Europa Conference group stages, with Paramount Plus streaming every match live. And to complement the best club competitions in the world, Paramount Plus also boasts a wealth of premium soccer documentaries, including Destination Paris, which premieres exclusively in the US today and follows journalist Guillaume Balaguer's path through Europe for the 2021-22 UEFA Champions League season, culminating with the final in Paris. Balaguer's travels details Ukrainian club Shakhtar Donetsk experiences amid ongoing war. Please check out Destination Paris and the entire Champions League season on Paramount Plus. All right, guys, welcome back into Que Golazo. Let's get stuck into it. Group D, Ian Joy here with you, Nigel Reo-Coker and Michael Lahoud. Now, Tottenham in the earlier kickoff today against Sporting Lisbon. It was an interesting game, boys. It looked like it was going to be a draw. It looked like it was going to end up in that draw. But Nigel Reo-Coker, I believe you're the only one that predicted that Sporting Lisbon could get the job done.
Yes, Ian, and I just hope your pronunciation of these European clubs and these players was only as good as your predictions, but obviously they're way apart. But anyway, I just definitely thought that Sporting would win this today. What a fantastic game of football that was again. Sporting for me. And the thing is with Tottenham is this, even in the Premier League, they look, how do I say, rigid, a bit hard to beat, hard to break down. They're not easily defeated, so to speak. But the problem that I see with Tottenham is I still personally don't believe that they're in their full flow yet. They're struggling to create opportunities, real good opportunities and goal chances. But it's the Antonio Conte way. So you do get a bit worried. You think that maybe you can get away with it for 3 or 4 games. But it's been happening for a while now. They're not really creating a tremendous amount of chances in games. And that's what's the worrying thing for Tottenham. They're not easily beaten. Very defensively well-organized, well-structured. But I know Antonio Conte, for how he is right now, he'll be very, very upset. He'll be very upset that they conceded those goals so late on after how well they did, because at the least, the minimum that they wanted from that game is a point. But for some reason, I went with my heart, as Lucho Garcia would say, and I do believe that Sporting would have got the win, and Sporting did get the win.
Okay, I'm going to say, I said it before we even went on the show, I was the one that called that. I think you were reading my mind in the end, because I think I gave James Bench and JJ all the mental proof that this was going to happen. I really do believe in Sporting Lisbon, and I'll tell you exactly why. Their front three is magic. They're a young front three. Pedro Goncalves gets the assist. They're a handful. Trincao, Marcus Edwards, the former Tottenham boy, getting revenge against his team. What a slaloming run he had. He should have scored. It would have been one of the goals of the group stages. Made Spurs defenders and midfielders look like traffic cones, or look like me when I'm playing my pickup men's league game now season. There's a reason why I'm retired, and that's why. What worries me, you hit it right on the head, Nigel. What worries me about Spurs under Conte, there's only one way to play, which is sit back, absorb, hit on the counter. When they're the team that now has to go and break a team like Sporting, this was a battle of the back three. The back three with a trio of a Christmas tree almost, one striker, 2 attacking mids underneath. And you're not getting the best out of Richarlison. He did score 2 goals to save their butts against Marseille. But Richarlison and Son look a shadow of themselves in this game. Son looks miserable. He looks confused. He doesn't know where to be. Son likes to have the freedom to play central or pop wide in previous seasons. He's no longer allowed to drift wide because he has to be static to play under Harry Kane. Lots of just disjointed movement, and a lot of the players who are getting the best positions on the field are 2 players who are not attackers, Højbjerg and Bentancur. They're getting positions at the top of the box, and they're not shooting. They need to find a wrinkle. Maybe do they put Kulusevski at attacking? I don't know. Do something different. Maybe put one of the strikers. I'd like to see Son even as one of the 2 sitting midfielders. They've tried Basuma. They're still trying to figure it out. I think that's where their problems lie. In those 2 sitting midfielders, 2 static, both do the same things. You need to be more creative if you're going to take that next step for Tottenham Hotspurs and be one of Europe's elites.
Oh, just a reminder, it was the earlier kickoff in Group D today. Tottenham Hotspur going down by 2-0 to Sporting Lisbon. Paulinho scored in the 91st minute, I believe. 14 goals last season. He also got 3 in the Champions League. That's him off the mark this campaign. Arthur maybe a couple of minutes later on, got his first goal of the season in his first ever Champions League game, got his first ever Champions League goal, recently transferred from Estoril. I thought it was an interesting game. I thought, of course, Antonio Conte was always going to come under scrutiny, leaving Kulusevski on the bench. In my opinion, maybe that wasn't the best decision, but he continues to stick with Heung-min Son. And again, no goal from Son. He's kind of struggling this season to really get him off to the races. Conte's record in Europe is okay. He's around about the plus 500 mark here. 12 wins, 13 draws, 12 defeats. That's his Champions League record. So is it good enough for Tottenham Hotspur? Conte, today's decision to go with this team, Son again not scoring goals, and again you have to say that it's a bit of a questionable decision.
I mean, you'd have to say, come on in, let's be real. Again, when we talk about football, I think that fans and people need to understand that we are all creatures of habit. When you look at some of these managers, they show you who they are by how they play their team, their style of play, their system. Conte, no matter what club he manages, this will be his style. Very defensively organized, hard to beat, grinding out results, a super fit team. And he's not really a manager that really lets players come out of that kind of structure much and be creative. When that kind of bees his downfall a bit. I think that maybe he needs to show a bit more trust in his players, because that's what's missing. Because everything else works well. We'll get your team well organized, defensively hard to beat. Again, very well structured. But again, when it comes to the creative side, that freedom to express yourself, to score goals, that's not something he does. And if you do go out of his structure, his guideline, you're not going to play that much. So I think that for me, it is a bit worrying. But again, it's knowing what you're going to get. And that is what you're going to get when you pick Antonio Conte as your manager, compared to if you maybe pick, for instance, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if you pick Zinedine Zidane as your manager, Zinedine Zidane's philosophy is way different. Yes, there's being organized defensively, but there's that freedom to go out there and express yourself. So, I mean, I'm not really surprised. I'm not surprised at the result today, because I, predicted it.
You took it from me, but let's be clear about that.
Okay. But yeah, I think, again, Tottenham, I think for Tottenham fans, they're just happy that they're competing. They're happy they're in the Champions League, and they're happy that they're there, and Arsenal are just somewhere else looking from the wilderness.
Let me just jump in real quickly, Mike, before you have your opinion on Conte here. Harry Kane in the first half, no shots, 29 touches of the ball, and Heung-min Son, 22 touches of the ball in the first 45 minutes, and also no shots. The most active player going forward for Tottenham Hotspur was, once again, Richarlison. So I think, to Nigel's point right there, you can see Conte's influence in this game and this team right now, and maybe some of the players are not happy with it.
I think one of the players that's most frustrated is the elephant in the room, Son. We've seen him subbed off again. When was the last time you saw Son subbed off in seasons before Conte got there? He was one of them. He came to life last year alongside Harry Kane. He was the catalyst for Harry Kane coming to life, and Kulusevski as well. And this year, I think they've gotten it wrong given their trio. Antonio Conte has won Serie A playing two strikers. He did Inter, playing a front two and attacking mid. Can you switch that up? Maybe that gives a different dynamic playing with two strikers. You have two strikers, Harry Kane. Son can play as the striker next to Kane, or put Son as your attacking midfielder. He can turn in the pocket and run at players. I think if he does that, it'll ask different questions of back lines other than what they're having right now.
Well, the other big result in Group D was, of course, Eintracht Frankfurt getting a massive win. Did not see this one coming. I would have loved to have seen, obviously, Marseille really step it up in this game, but it's a Bundesliga team who gets the victory in this game, Nigel. Eintracht Frankfurt with a big 2-0 victory. Lindstrom getting the opening goal, 43 minutes on the clock. They did have an offside goal before they rounded things off nicely. That's a massive 3 points for Eintracht Frankfurt to make this group really interesting now.
That is an absolute massive 3 points. I did not see that coming either. I honestly didn't. I thought that Marseille were going to be the real deal this year, to really push it as one of the contenders for the French teams to at least make it out of the group stages. But wow, what a result that is for Frankfurt. They really have opened up this group now. Again, I'm a bit disappointed because it messes up my my prediction table. But hey, fair play to Frankfurt. They got the result. They beat a Marseille side that really just couldn't rise to the occasion.
Mike, we talked with Jonathan Johnson ahead of the Champions League even starting, and I asked JJ this question. Hey, Marseille can get it done from 18 to 18. I say that for a point because today they got it done from 18 to 18. And I asked him, Where are the goals going to come from when it counts? We're still waiting. Because in both boxes, that's where they struggle. Marseille throwing a lot of numbers forward, playing at home. The Velodrome was popping. The city was popping. You can get your kebabs outside the stadium and just your baguettes, kebabs, you name it. Great place. I am going to be there actually in October. So
Mike, you only get kebabs at 3 in the morning in England, mate. Just so you know, kebabs only come after 3 o'clock in the morning, mate.
Hey,
Mike,
you never
don't listen to Nigel. Nothing good happens after midnight in Marseille, so be very careful with yourself. Go ahead,
Yes,
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. What struck me was the defensive frailties, and one player, I'm going to single him out, Eric Bailly. He was a disaster. On the first goal, it was his lapse in concentration. And I hate slamming players, especially African players. I love my African players, man.
But this guy, it's because he played for Man United. But carry on.
Exactly. Well, you called me out. Dang.
Don't pull that one out.
This guy,
because he played for Man United.
This guy, though, the ball's over the top, routine ball over the top. One striker makes the ball. He has cover. He tries to chest it down. What are you doing? It's before half. Get the ball out of there. Head the ball out. You've been doing that. You've been solid for about 43 minutes. Tries to chest it down. And to make matters worse, the ball gets at the top. And Lindstrom's nowhere near the ball. And Marseille have numbers back. And Eric Bailly takes the play off. He acts like if he's almost cramping, waiting for someone else to clean up his mistake. And it's so unfortunate. Ricochets off the defensive midfielder. And if he would have stuck with the play, he would have been there to save a goal. Lindstrom does well to react, gets a gift, and slams it home. And it's just downhill from there for Marseille. You saw the belief go out of their sails. And what is it? They're in, is it 15 losses in the Champions League or some astronomical numbers since just after 2010. Yep. It's not their competition. I'm very worried about this team.
I think it's 15 from the last 16 in this competition, which is not good at all for them. But to touch upon Lindstrom, who got the goal, the 22-year-old Danish midfielder, 3 goals, all comps, all 3 of them this campaign coming away from home. There was a second goal that was ruled out for offside from Daichi Kamada, so ended up 1-0 to the Eintracht Frankfurt. Let's move on to Group B, and probably the most interesting, bizarre, crazy result of the day would have been Porto going down at home by 4-0 thanks to a wonderful performance by Brugge. They got off to a great start 50 minutes into the game. Ferran Jugta got the opening goal from the penalty spot. That was his 6th goal of the season in 11 games. He recently transferred over from Barcelona before they made it 2-0, 3-0, and 4-0 very quickly in the second half. Michael Hood, I mean, this is one of the most amazing results I've seen in the Champions League because Brugge need to be taken seriously. I know Nigel's laughing at the way I say Bruges.
Well, this is a team that is without one of their best players from last year, who plays for Milan, De Ketelaere. Attacking midfielder. They look like they didn't miss a single beat. Porto, they've shifted to this 4-4-2 model, and they've sold some players since last year, but they were chasing shadows. Bruges did an excellent job overloading them in the middle of the park. The 2 defensive midfielders didn't have an answer. Nigel, you and I know what that feels like when you're chasing shadows in the middle of the park. And I'm surprised that Porto didn't get a red card.
Wait, I've never chased shadows, Mike. Let's not go there. I've never chased shadows.
You know what? Right? I'm the only one here who knows what that looks like.
I used to put a foot in.
There's
no chasing shadows.
And that's what was missing today from Porto. I was waiting for a rash tackle. They seem second best in every category. Credit to Club Brugge. Their front 3 was dynamic. Their midfield did a good job of rotating. Even their deep line playmaker got forward and created chances. They're a handful, and I think a team that, as you said, Ian, teams really need to start taking them seriously because you're not going up against a Bruges team that's just going to hand it to you. They've had some headline performances and results in the group stages in seasons past in the Champions League.
Nigel, a little bit of a crazy result, though. I know there's a lot of talented players who are making their way over to Belgium to obviously get minutes, to get playing time. We're seeing that exact situation with Ferran Jugta. He was actually bought from Barcelona's B team for about €5 million. But also the second goal scorer, Kamal Sowa, the 22-year-old Ghanaian. That was his first goal for the new club who transferred over from AZ. They have a bunch of 22-year-olds who scored today. It seems to be a conveyor belt of talented players who are going over to Netherlands, to Belgium, to Scandinavia to play in the Champions League. And these types of results are what you get because Bruges are a team that love to sell their best players. And once again, you're seeing that this is their stage to perform on. And again, another top performance from a lot of young players.
Well, I thought it was Club Brugge, and then now you just went to Club Bruges. Pick one, Ian, and stick with it, all right? Brugge. Okay. Anyway, I think, yeah, you're right. I think it's great. I think it's really great on that. And again, it's not something we've not seen before. We've seen it with other nations. We've seen British players go to Germany. Every nation has their time. And I think now, obviously, a lot of young players are going to Belgium, and these results are eye-opening. And also, it's great for scouts of bigger clubs where they can go and see these young kids perform. And there is no better platform to perform and do the business than the Champions League. So it's only going to benefit them. And also, to a certain degree, also benefits the clubs. Because once these players get sold on, they make the clubs make their money.
All right, let's move very quickly on to Leverkusen against Atletico Madrid. Leverkusen with a shock victory. I actually predicted a 0-0 in this game to be one of the boring types here. But Leverkusen did leave it late. 84th minute, Robert Andrecht, he got his first goal of the season. Frimpong with, again, assist. I mean, just absolutely brilliant. Moussa Diaby obviously made it 2-0 on the 87-minute mark. Diaby was terrific last season, 17 goals, 14 assists for Leverkusen. This season, it's not been easy for the German side. Then finally get a victory to their name, and they certainly celebrated that one, Mike.
And it was a type of win that they needed. Their season hasn't gone in the league, hasn't gone right whatsoever. Patrick Schick looks a shadow of himself to start this year. Last year, one of the stars of the Bundesliga, and also had a great Euros as well with the Czech Republic. They're a team that is going to be, their success hinders on the strength of their two wingers. And when I look at Diaby, that second goal was massive for his confidence. That was more of a statement to get that second goal against that bloody team that it's part of their DNA, kind of like Spurs, to go away, grind it out. They have so many attacking players, but it was to grind it out and let's get out of Germany with a 0-0 result and play for the next game. They get found out a bit in that pragmatic approach because Leverkusen does have the pace, and on the flanks, there's something in the water in Germany about wingers this year. On the flanks, that's where the game was won and lost again. And both wingers towards the end of the game found the recipe for success on the counter.
Yeah, amazing to see Club Brugge sitting pretty at the top of the table there. Leverkusen, Atletico Madrid tied on 3 points with Porto. No points to their name right now as we go past group stage, should I say match day 2. Let's move on. It has been a whirlwind of a Champions League Tuesday today. Match day 2 slate of games, some interesting results. Thank you very much. And I know everyone out there who's waiting to hear Nigel Reo-Coker's opinion on the Leverkusen game will have to wait for another time. We got to touch upon an article that broke, obviously, thanks to our James Benge, about Chelsea Football Club. Before we end the show, I want to get your boys' opinion on what Todd Boehly has been saying about his ideas to push Chelsea and what his ideas could be as an ownership group to create a multi-team, multi-dimensional, multi-city, multi-group, multi-opportunity, similar to what we see with City Football Group. I mean, there are so many clubs who are trying to do this motto. It's not easy to do. But some who do have success, like Red Bull and like City Football Group, there's a lot of money to be made. But let's touch also upon the All-Star game that I know Nigel's really happy about. Nigel, you can go first.
No. I'm gonna let Mike go first. Then I'm gonna come in at the end. I'm gonna come in with a knockout, uppercut. Go on, Mike. It's all yours.
So, I think when you're the new kid on the block, I liken it to going into a new club, right? You're the new kid, new transfer. You don't come in swinging in with ideas. You literally just got here. You sacked your manager. You have more problems to sort out in your own backyard. I just think the timing of this ahead of them playing Champions League, I think the timing of it ahead of them playing another Premier League match, I think it's a bit rash to come out with something like this. And I also want to point out, and it's not to poo-poo, another French word I'm using in preparation of the trip abroad, on Todd Boehly and Chelsea, this is the same Todd Boehly who thought Kevin De Bruyne and Mohamed Salah were potential academy players for Chelsea. I'm just going to leave it there, Nigel. I'm just going to toss this over to you, Nigel, because I can't right now. I can't.
Well, I would like to say to this, Ian, I think that Todd Boehly is really making Chelsea going to be one of the most hated clubs in British football. Because for me, I don't mind evolution of the game, but there's certain things you should not mess with. And Ian knows it as well. And Mike, I'm sure you've got friends who will know this. Do not mess with English and British people's football clubs. If you're an owner, you're an owner. And I don't understand how Todd Boehly doesn't look to see the problems that the Glazier family are going through at Manchester United. With all the money that they have and all these financial structures, fans don't care how wealthy or rich you are when you own their football team. If you're not competing to win Champions League and Premier League titles, they will turn on you quick. They do not care about how wealthy you are. They're not interested. Their football club is their heartbeat and their soul of their community, and it's their identity. You cannot come in with an idea of all-star games. That's an American thing. No problem. Keep it in America because it works. Because the All-Star game is a popularity contest. Let's put that into context so some fans will understand. Some people who are Leeds United supporters will not want to see an All-Star game and they vote for Manchester United players to go and watch an All-Star game. It goes against everything they stand for supporting Leeds United. And this is the thing that Todd Boehly, I think, needs to have a greater understanding about what football clubs means to fans and communities. We have no problem coming to America, watching all-star games in America, watching NFL, because that's your culture and what you've grown up in. But don't come to England and the Premier League and telling people what they should do and how we should have all-star games and all the celebrity that comes with it, because that's not real football. That's not what really football fans care about, because they will turn on you and an owner very quickly. Even though Manchester United started to do well, we've seen it as well. Fans are still protesting because they want the Glaziers out, because they're not footballing people. Todd Boehly is digging some serious holes for himself, where a lot of people will turn on Chelsea now from being a glamorous club to going against them because of the decisions and things that he's saying and doing. And what he doesn't realize as well is Chelsea became very, very relevant. Whether Chelsea fans want to agree with me or not, they became very, very relevant when there was a billionaire owner. I lived in London. I grew up there. I never saw a Chelsea shirt until a billionaire owner came into place. Then they were signing Marcel Desailly, Gianfranco Zola. Then everyone was a Chelsea fan. Then the glamorous Chelsea became alive. He brought a lot of success to that club. Champions League title, Premier League title. That's what Todd Boehly needs to concentrate on. This isn't just a play toy for him, because Chelsea fans will quickly turn on him and he can sell that club to very willing buyers from around the world who are more football orientated and football educated than he is.
Nigel, this is going to turn into a 2-hour show. If you keep going, if we just let you talk, it's going to turn into a 2-hour show. Listen, I got to jump in here, all right? We must not forget, obviously, it's an old school mentality to say, this is our football and you've got to be very careful changing the game. But let's not forget what you just said there. Abramovich changed the game completely. He's changed the game by dumping a whole load of money into it. You talk about all the superstars who came to town. I mean, this is an American ownership group who want to do things their way. Believe it or not, they're going to try, whether you like it or not, Nigel, to do all these things. And one last thing, we must not forget this. This has now become a business more than ever before. People are making money. They're looking at football. They're looking at an opportunity to develop football clubs, their branding, whatever they can do to try and develop to make more and more money and take more control over this game, they will do. Like CFG, if you look at City Football Group in particular, they have, 9 teams around the world now. Then you've got the Red Bull system who have maybe, 5 or 6 teams around the world. And don't think for 1 minute it's not to try and push these clubs who are in either the Premier League or in the Bundesliga, their top teams, their main teams, all the young talent to their teams to have success and all the young talent to sell on for a profit, for money. They're scouting so many players now. They have a grab on almost all of the local areas around where their clubs are in multiple countries, in multiple continents around the world. So don't think that the Super League has gone away, Nigel. Do not think that. Do not think that Todd Boehly is going to step away for 1 minute about his All-Star. Hold on 1 second. I'll let you talk for an hour. I'm going to finish my point.
Oh, boy.
Todd Boehly, I think, will be a good thing for Chelsea Football Club. It's been a controversial start, I believe so, but he's trying to be different. He's trying to change things up and make Chelsea last longer and be more successful as a business, but also as a football club as well.
Okay, let's just see how successful it becomes, because if you're not winning, you ain't successful in England. My thing is this: I don't disagree with the motto of more than one club and the feeder system like what Man City has. No problem. But coming in with this whole all-star game and all this type of stuff there, that's a problem for me. I just don't agree to it. I think it's a popularity contest. It's not what real football fans are like. You've got to understand, you can't go to another country and try and impose your culture, your kind of thing that you see in America onto people who view football from a different perspective and think it's going to be A-okay. You know it yourself.
There is 8 NFL games in London every single year.
Okay, it's okay, but that's NFL games in London. That's not having an all-star game in the Premier League. That's them expanding. That's no problem. They can expand it. But my thing is this. If you want to talk about expanding the great of the game, the good of the game and stuff like that, start in America. Expand the game in America. Make America the national team and the game in America develop to another level where you can do that. Why are you going to England and bringing all your ideas and your baggage with you and say, we're going to do this, we're going to do all-star game, everyone's going to love it? No, you know it yourself. If you grow up in a West Ham household, you're only supporting one team. If you grow up in a Tottenham household, you're only supporting one team. British people are very proud and passionate about the football.
Not anymore, Nigel. Not anymore, Nigel. Not anymore.
I can tell you this. I can tell you both this. Keep your eyes on the telly. When the protests start happening, when the All-Star games show up, I expect Nigel Reo-Coker there with the flares and the banner. Get him out. I'm going to be pissed if I don't see him.
All I'm saying is this, Mike and Ian. I would compare Boehly to the Glaziers. Again, another American coming with American mentality. Let's just see. Let's see how quickly the Chelsea fans turn on him when they're not seeing success and change. Let's see how that works.
I think he's trying to implement his own ideas a little bit crazier than the Glazers did do at Manchester United. Let's touch upon the other part of the article. Of course, Thomas Tuchel made some comments after his recent sacking, thanks to Todd Boehly. Once again, a decision that was controversial for many Chelsea fans out there. And if you have an opinion as well, please share it in the comments below. Thomas Tuchel said after the sacking, the reality of our decision was that we weren't sure that Thomas saw it the same way as we saw it. No one is right or no one is wrong. We just didn't have a shared vision for the future. It wasn't about Zagreb. It was about the shared vision for what we wanted Chelsea to look like. It wasn't a decision that was made because of a single win or a loss. It was a decision that we thought was the right vision for the club. So that was on the Thomas Tuchel decision to fire him. What do you think about that right there? I mean, he certainly is an opinionated man who's clearly implemented his own ideas very quickly on it. But Thomas Tuchel also has shared some opinion as well and clearly disappointed at the decision.
You want to start, Mike? You go first, mate. I'm just going to give it a killer blow.
Nige, I think this one, just for the sake of time, because I need oxygen for what I could think could be your longest rant, 6 days coming up. So I need some oxygen. So I'm going to give this one to you, and I'll round it out.
That just means to me, Thomas Tuchel wasn't going to be a yes man. That's what it is. That's again, I feel for me, that's an American influence coming in, trying to tell a manager who's done it and won the Champions League from someone who's successful from having a baseball team, knows nothing about football. Let's be real about this. Todd Boehly knows nothing about football. He's about as new a fan as you can find. You've got a manager who's done this his entire life, won Champions League, man is the best in the world, and you're going to tell him we didn't share the same vision. No, it's you don't understand football. You want to implement your own vision. But again, let's just let this unravel. Give Chelsea time, because right about now, Chelsea Football Club, Todd Boehly is digging its own grave. So let's just leave it at that.
I find it very interesting in how we even got here. So Thomas Tuchel, that's the American way of saying Tuchel, was a dead man walking. He was a dead man walking. Whenever you are affiliated, I mean, he was the figurehead of the club. Abramovich, gone. Petr Cech, gone. The sporting director, gone. So he was the figurehead of the club during its most just awful time in modern history, right? When a new manager or owner, comes in, you are still associated with the last regime, and they will find any which way to clean house. And he was the last remnant of what was before they can start and fully claim this to be their project. And I just think this was always going to happen. And Thomas Tuchel was going to be the scapegoat for any reason. And the Zagreb result was the final straw in which saying, okay, we finally have our data that we need to make a move now. It doesn't make any sense other than we need to take full ownership of this club. We are the ownership, and it is an ownership group. It is no longer one figurehead running the club, and that is a big transition moment for Chelsea Football Club. You have a bunch of different businessmen who have their say and influences, and for Chelsea, it is all about money now. Yes, winning the Premier League is one thing, but to make a move like this, to make a move and also be putting stuff about the All-Star game, they're wanting to say, hey, how can we get as much out of this new investment in just multi-bazillion dollar industry as possible, given that we're the new boys in town? Does not matter. We are still businessmen. Football is still a business. And because I could see this coming a mile away, although I couldn't see it because I'm still pissed that Thomas Tuchel got the sack.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that Thomas Tuchel did get the sack after the success he had in such a short space of time. But let's not forget, it was Thomas Tuchel. And Thomas Tuchel doesn't like to be told what to do by a new ownership group. It was always going to be very difficult for him. And it was always going to be complicated. Whenever they were waiting for that excuse, Dinamo Zagreb defeat on match day 1 looked like it was the excuse to get him out there. And it sounded like, after my discussion with Fabrizio Romano recently, that the decision was already made as to who was going to replace him maybe a couple of weeks before the actual sacking. So it's been a wild day, guys. I want to get your final thoughts on Champions League and everything that's just happened before we get out of here. Anything really stand out to you, Nigel, that it got you excited about the Champions League going forward from today's results?
Bayern beating Barca, yeah, because it put a lot of doubters to bed, and especially just because it stuck a rocket up your arse, Ian. Yes, I'm very happy. Bayern beat Barcelona. There you go.
Mike?
Oh, man, that's hilarious. I think this was a win for the underdogs, for the teams that not a lot of people are giving credit to, and this is what makes this Champions League draw and these group stages more interesting. I think we'll see a couple more surprise results, and it puts the onus on the usual suspects who have success in this competition. It really puts the onus on them of how do they respond. Tottenham Hotspurs, the Sporting Lisbon result, that's a good thing for the game of football. We've been begging for this. Were we going to have competition in the biggest leagues around the world? And I think we're seeing a microcosm of something shifting in the world's game, given today's results.
Yeah, it's a little crazy. And I will say this, I have been batting against the Bundesliga clubs this year just because I want to see competition or competitive nature in the Bundesliga to challenge Bayern Munich. I'm finally starting to see that, so I'm excited. But I've been also against the Bundesliga club in Europe, and now they're starting to get on my side. So big win for Bayern Munich today. Huge point being proved to a lot of people and a lot of doubters out there. Maybe I'm the only one. However, what a great victory it was for Eintracht Frankfurt. And of course, Leverkusen getting it done as well. So a massive day for the Bundesliga clubs, which is sending me home very happy indeed. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Great job as always. It's fun to catch up with you guys. Nigel Reo-Coker, Michael Lahoud, and Amy and Joy. You've been watching the recap of Tuesday's match day 2 in the Champions League fixtures. It was an awesome day of action. But please also remember that you have been watching Que Golazo. Please make sure you take a minute to subscribe. Please make sure you leave us a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. We're also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and anywhere you listen to your podcast. We're also available as video, so subscribe to us on YouTube. Visit YouTube. I'm Ian Joy, Nigel Reo-Coker, Michael Lahoud. We'll see you same time tomorrow, and we'll review the games again.